The lesson isn't always necessarily in the success. The lesson is in the failure.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Scar Tissue Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Fabian DeMarco. Now, this is a show where we interview interesting people, high achievers, and people that are just doing things that I want to know more about. And I look to discover not just what makes someone successful at their endeavors, but where they've made the mistakes, where they've got their scars, where have been their biggest challenges that I can learn from and that we can all learn from. And today I'm interviewing a guy with plenty of scars. He's a guy by the name of Richie Vas. He's a big wave surfer. And I'm not talking about those big waves that you and I might be used to at the beach where we're trying to get a tan. I'm talking about those things that look like freaking tidal waves that are 40 foot plus in the middle of nowhere. He rides them. He's also a UFC fighter, an author, a TV host, and a member of the notorious beachside gang, and gang's probably not the right word, the Bondi Boys. Richie's story is about second chances. It's a story about self-discovery. It's a story about fighting fear, and he's got a story about the pursuit of having a fulfilled life, and that's why I wanted to share it with everyone on this episode. One last thing I will say, especially for my international audience, there is a lot of swearing and a lot of Australian slang. I even up it to match Richie on this one. So hopefully you can bear with us. There's a lot of information in there that you can take away, especially if you're in a moment of life where you feel a lot of pressure and you have a lot of challenges to deal with. So I hope you enjoyed this show. Without further ado, Mr. Richie Vas. Richie, welcome to the Scar Tissue Podcast. To begin with, for those who don't know who you are and then some of the pretty freaking rad things you've done, can you give us a bit of a rundown?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, first and foremost. Look, I'm sort of born and bred in Maroubra, Sydney, and grew up. I was a product of immigrant parents. My mum's from England. My dad moved over here he escaped as a political refugee from the Czech Republic in the late 60s. Grew up just surf mad as a kid. All I wanted to do was surf. That was my big dream and goal, was to be a world champion surfer. Tom Carroll was my idol growing up, and my closest surf beach was Maroubra, so got into nippers and doing that kind of stuff around the beach. Mm-hmm. Then grew up, joined the board riders out Maroubra, and then that's where I just want to spend all my time. With all the boys, all the Bondi Boys, went through all that. I got a big Bondi Boys tattoo across my stomach. I'm still very proud of, and all my mates are still all best of mates today. So went through that whole journey with the documentary and all that sort of attention that it brought. And then in amongst that, I found mixed martial arts initially just as a way of staying fit for when the surf got big, because my idols, locally were like Mark Matthews and Kobe Aberdeen, who are some of the best big wave surfers in the world. And my attention went from competition surfing to big wave surfing, in my sort of early teens, and that's what I wanted to do. And I thought, while you're out in the big stuff, it's always good to be as fit as you can, and that's what led me initially to like big boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I started competing in them and was hooked. So I started to take that a bit more seriously, and eventually fought my way into the UFC. And that was a few years ago now. That's also led on things like working on Fox Sports on the UFC Fight Week, and recently become a dad. So it's been a really fun ride. I've been very grateful and very fortunate to be able to do things I love. Guess fear of missing out. So I try to give things a nudge and not die wondering. And been fortunate to be surrounded by some good people, some real good role models, and family and friends to help me get there.
Mate, congratulations on all that, by the way. Yeah, and congratulations on having your baby. How old's he or she?
Little Grace, Grace Lily. She just turned 19 months, actually, so I've still, very much got my L plates on, working out parenthood, and me and my missus, Lucia, it's a wild one, but she's a great little human. And
good on you.
We're working it out day to day, but we're loving life.
Little girls are amazing. I've got a 9-month-old now.
Yeah, wow. Girl. So you're the same boat, pretty much.
I'm a year behind you.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess for a father's point of view, I guess you're hitting a mark where it starts to get really interesting, because obviously, they're glued to mum for the first sort of 6 to 12 months, and then once they start sort of coming out and smiling and showing a little character, you can hang out with them a bit longer. That's awesome. It's a wild ride, mate. So
it's cool, isn't it? I love it, man. So listen, I had a little look online about your bit of your background, and as modest as you were, you've done quite a fair bit. You know, so obviously, like you said, the Ultimate Fighter, you've been on there. You fought in the UFC. You surfed. You don't just surf. You surf some of the most dangerous and biggest waves in the world. So, what's the sort of the biggest waves you've ever ridden?
Yeah, I've surfed like really big waves, in Fiji, Tahiti, Hawaii. But sort of the biggest, scariest waves, I guess, like when you're talking about volume of water, is here in Australia, waves like Shipsterns, down in Tasmania.
How big are those sort of things?
Well, they kind of get around like 15 to 20 feet in height, which is generally a 40-foot face of the wave. Because it's funny in surfing, we kind of measure from behind the wave.
Right.
But it's just the sheer amount of volume and how thick the wave is. I guess our coastline, it really lends itself to waves that we call slabs, that, like a swell come out of really deep water and hit a really shallow reef and just throw itself over, and there's almost like no back to the wave. It's just the ocean folding itself over a shallow ledge, and that's what we tend to have a lot of around Oz, which is makes for really spectacular surfing and some of the best barrels that you'll ever witness, but also pretty heavy consequences if it doesn't go right as well. There's a wave over in WA called the Right, which offers up some of probably the biggest barrels in the world. So, it's pretty, and all these waves are just out in the middle of nowhere, which makes it, bit of an adventure to try and find and get there, but also a little sketchy if things don't go right.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that would have led into the documentary Fighting Fear, right?
Yeah.
So, which is something else I saw you've done. You appeared in the documentary Bra Boys. You've got your own podcast. You're author of a new book, Bra Boys.
Yeah.
Is it Bra Boy?
Bra Boy, yeah. So it's just an autobiography, about myself growing up at Maroubra, my story, and just had a pretty light-hearted look at life and my story. Like, had a bit of fun with it, but just my journey through surfing, surfing big waves, the ups and downs, making mistakes, finding myself in a bit of trouble, but then also trying to get things back on track and achieve things in the octagon, and my story of growing up in Maroubra. So that was good fun. Putting pen to paper and putting it down.
Getting it out there. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, everyone thinks maybe that they have a book in them, but I think very few people would have led such an adventurous life as what you have. So makes for good reading. So you've done these pretty freaking amazing things, and things that I think are book worthy. Mm-hmm. But let's go back to your early life. So you said your parents migrated over, and your dad was actually a refugee.
Yep.
How did they end up in Maroubra, and what was life like in those early years when you were under the age of 12 or so?
Yeah. Look, my childhood, I just look back on really super fond memories. My father made his way out to Oz as a political refugee, escaping the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia at the time. With communism sort of taken over, there wasn't much of a future there for him. So him and his mates, made the move to get out of there, and eventually found themselves in Australia. Went through Villawood and all that kind of stuff, as you still do today. But thank God, eventually found his way to Coogee, and actually slept on the northern headland of Coogee for like sort of 6 to 12 months, just with the swag and a bunch of 5 of his mates, and each morning they'll roll the swag up, kick it in the bushes, and then go look for work. So his story of his early days in Oz just sounded golden. You could pick up work every day. It was just have a few beers every arvo. It was like, sounded unreal. And my mother grew up in Manchester, England. But again, didn't see the brightest future for her there. Like, she was a bit over the rain and the dreary weather, and she's seen things about California, and the opportunity when she was about 18 to move to California and she did some nanny work and just get some work over there. So she loved the sound of beaches and sunshine. So went to California, eventually saw some friends who they said, we're going to go to Oz, check out Australia. So she thought she'd try to do the same, and then found Australia. That's where she met my dad, and that's where we all begun. And we were very fortunate I think anyone's fortunate to live in the eastern suburbs. It's a beautiful place, and originally my family lived in Coogee, then we moved to Matraville, and then eventually out to Little Bay, when I was about 3. So that's where my first real memories of running around the backyard and playing around around all the golf courses out there, running around the bush all the time. It was unreal. It was the best place to grow up.
Hasn't that place changed?
It has, mate. Yeah, well, when I lived out there, was the hospital. Was still there, Prince Henry Hospital. It wasn't that far out of the city, but you felt like because you're surrounded by bushland and golf courses and beaches and whatnot. I was just running around the bush with friends all day, trying to catch lizards and frogs, or looking for golf balls to sell back to golfers to make 50 cents here and there. So we were just out from sunrise to sunset, and it was unreal. And of course the beach. I was always been drawn to the beach. Just always wanted to be in the surf and surfing. My uncle, who on my mother's side, also from Manchester. Funnily enough, is a surf mad Pommy as well, and he went through Portugal and loved his surfing, and eventually found Australia as well. Followed his sister out here, and he always used to take out surfing with our cousins, and I was just hooked. So growing up was unreal. I did nippers down at Maroubra.
Yeah.
Like I said, around home.
Did you know what you wanted to be? So did you know it was surfing was what you always wanted to do when you grew up? Or
like from the get-go, all I ever wanted to do was surf. Like my career path, my job was if people said, "What are you going to do when you go older?" I'm going to be a surfer. That's all I wanted to do. Yeah, and there was no real like plan B or anything else apart from that. And obviously until I got to high school and stuff, and then you'll start give those thoughts a bit more consideration.
Yeah.
But growing up, all I wanted to do was surf, and I was down the beach as much as possible. As soon as I could hang there by myself, I never wanted to leave. So,
and what did your parents, being people that migrated over, especially your dad, who came from such a difficult journey to get here, and I'd imagine would have had to have struggled to have his place in society to be able to earn ends meet, to be able to put food on the table, to make sure everyone's taken care of, all this sort of stuff. What was their view on you pursuing a career in surfing and that side of things?
They were always very, very supportive.
Yeah.
They first and foremost put an emphasis on getting education, and also like hard work too. I used to pick up golf balls down at Cullen's driving range at Little Bay, so I used to fill a wheelbarrow full of golf balls, and take me hours and hours and get $12. And that was a way of earning money, or just doing odd jobs around the house. Like nothing sort of was just given to me. Like they put that emphasis on you got to work if you want to get something. But also we always made time to have a holiday every year. It was when I was making it clear that I want to chase surfing as a career path. My parents had always were a little sort of outside the square. They travelled as young people.
Yeah.
Like I said, my mum left home, which was 18, went to California, which is polar opposites to dreary Manchester.
Right.
And that's quite a young age to just take that leap. And my dad too. He was only sort of in his early 20s when he boarded a ship to come to Australia. So they were very supportive in chasing your dreams and giving what you're passionate about, giving it a crack, and but also making sure that I was getting educated.
Education.
I understood the value of work and all that kind of stuff.
Education, hard work, but still have the liberty to let your spirit free. Yeah,
and like I said, we always travelled, so travelling was a big part of growing up, and I think travel is an amazing educator. So they, when I got old enough to travel myself, they really encouraged me to pack my board bag and go surfing waves around the world and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. Now, and then I was about 10 and 11, and they split, which was pretty hard thing to go through at the time. I think at that age too, you're old enough to understand what's going on. Like mum and dad aren't going to be living together anymore, and but you're not quite old enough to see that it's going to be for the better.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't long after they had moved out and split that I quickly realised there's no more arguing, there's no more everyone seems to be happy. It's working out for the best. But they're still very supportive in what I choose to do, and even when I chose to give mixed martial arts a real nudge. But like my mum, as much as she hated it, she's never been to one of my fights. She doesn't want to hear about it. Just wants to get a phone call to say that I'm all right afterwards. But she's always been supportive and encouraged me to do what I love.
My parents separated around the same time, so I was around about 12. Did you? And I'm reflecting on, I suppose, myself here. In those years following it, so more so around the age of 15, 16, 17, did you find yourself questioning or getting into a little bit more trouble than what you may have if they were still together? Or maybe it's irrelevant that they were still together or not?
I did. That's why I started getting in trouble. From sort of late teens to my early 20s is where I was getting on the drink too much, making stupid choices, getting into trouble, fights out, and all that kind of stuff. Which I guess stereotypical of a bit of a wayward teen young bloke. I'm not sure if I put it down. That's because of my parents being apart. My dad was a big drinker. I kind of swore that I was never going to be a big drinker. But as soon as I hit my early teens, that all changed. I was a victim of peer pressure. I made the choice to drink with my mates and do all that stuff. I guess the fear of not fitting in also played a part. You want to, but then I was in the time of my life as well. I was having so much fun, and I just thought nothing had a consequence. And so I'm not sure if it was
any relationship to that.
But
more so.
I still never really wanted to upset my parents. I still had, I think the values they instilled in me, I still want to try and uphold, even though I'd go out and get blind and carry on like a mug. I still wake up the day with regrets because, especially when I eventually got in trouble and got extradited back to Queensland to face these charges. I was I was very ashamed of putting my parents through that, and that's not what I want to be remembered for. I know I'd been brought up differently, so
Who did you try to impress the most?
Mate, just my mates, to be honest. Growing up at Maroubra, the Bondi Boys, Maroubra definitely was a pretty testosterone charged environment to grow up in. As a young bloke, to an extent it still is today, but it has changed a lot. Gentrification's kind of reached the beach, and it's all becoming very kind of similar to Bondi and Coogee, which is a good thing in many ways. But back then, when I was a teen, it was like the ugly duckling of the city beaches. You could get up to whatever you wanted down there. There was no cameras, no one had smartphones. There was no consequence for whatever you do. It was just like the Wild West, which was awesome fun. But it just led you. And I always wanted to impress my mates, regardless of what it was. Drinking too much, doing stupid stuff. I guess I joked about in the book too about small man syndrome. And I made a joke. It ended up in a whole chapter because I was always the smallest of all my mates, smallest on my footy side. Kind of what led me into chasing big waves. So I wanted to prove I could do whatever the big guys did. If the waves got big, I would always want to, I'll go surfing. Kind of before I thought through what I was saying. The same about mixed martial arts. I'll get in there and fight in the cage, and then now I've got to live up to it. And that was the same. I just with my mates. I was always a class clown at school. Well before I started hanging down Maroubra, and that just kicked on. To growing up with your mates, and it was a lot of fun, but I was probably maybe easily influenced a little bit, and I just loved having a good time and making people laugh. You
mix the Larkin character with that need to kind of prove yourself.
Yeah, I definitely had that chip on my shoulder. That I thought I needed to prove myself in every aspect. And
do you feel like you still do today?
Not so much to others. More to myself. But I've definitely now that I've recognised it, and actually going through writing the book, and kind of I was a little bit therapeutic in that area where I was reflective and going, I don't need to do things for others. I don't need to, and I can sort of recognise my ego a little bit now and can see when it starts to influence my decisions. And but definitely back in the day, it was
apparent everywhere.
Yeah,
and so what do you look for now then? If you said through writing this book you've had a chance to have that cathartic experience to reflect on when you've done things in order to impress others rather than something that may be just for you. How do you manage that now, and what do you look for?
It's tricky, It is, because I'm at a stage of my fighting career now where it's not the end all and be all. I want to get back in there and make that walk and still compete, but like I said, I'm a father. I'm 35. My my last couple of performances haven't been my best. I'm like, where do I start to think, why do I want to get back in there still? Is it because of my last fight, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go,
right?
And I want to get back in to rectify that, or I still want to get it because I truly still love the training, I love the sport, and I've got that hunger to compete. And it's both, you know what I mean? That the loss is still feeding me to want to get back in and compete, but then when I go to training, I'm sparring still top level guys and moving around with top level guys, and it's been super competitive. That gives me the bug to want to compete, and I still want to make that walk a few more times. And I know you're a long time retired, and I still feel physically, mentally as good as I have. But it is that back and forth argument internally, what is driving me to want to get back in there, And am I doing that because that's now where I find a bit of my identity? Is that why?
Right.
Because people expect me to get back in there, or what?
Yeah.
Do I want to live up to other people's expectations? So it is. It never ends, really. You know what I mean? But now I'll just try to be a little bit more thoughtful with it, and try to weigh things up, and take a few other things in consideration.
Yeah. And through those years of the parents breaking up, you having your friend group that you kind of try to impress here and there, all the way through to your early years in big wave surfing and then getting into fighting, who were your role models through all that, good or bad?
Yeah, well, it was very fortunate in Marubu to, all my role models I mentioned earlier, like Tom Carroll. And as I was growing up, he was just my idol in surfing. But then as I got into my teens and started spending all my time down at Marubu Beach, I mean, there was an endless supply of role models down there, for good and bad reasons. But from local guys who you'd never heard of, who just charge in the water, to guys like Kobe Abbott, who are making such a massive name for themselves, as a free surfer. Not like this is when you could actually start to make some decent money through free surfing, which isn't competitive surfing, just going out, surfing crazy waves, getting your head through all the magazines, getting covers, getting all the footage on DVDs, and just staying in the surf media and having a presence. Sponsors will throw money at you for doing that. So I was really looking up to Kobe. Mark Matthews is a few years older than me, who was really started to compete with Kobe for that, the top dog definitely down Marubu, but started to push him on a global stage when it came to big wave surfing. But there's guys like Ronnie Reardon, who was down at Marubu Beach, who fought for Australian title in boxing, and there's so many guys who I just saw as larger than life, But that it was kind of that go hard or go home attitude, I said, testosterone kind of charged environment down there. That that worked great for me in the ocean, or in the gym training for a fight, or but I couldn't separate that from going down and having a drink with my mates, and getting into fights. It was never could never walk away from a fight, or an argument or what it was, or could not just have 2 or 3 beers. Had to go as hard as I could. So yeah, there were influences, like you said, some that really I could use as a positive to further my career, and some that really not there, just came back to bite me, and all. Yeah.
Interesting. It's an interesting parallel, because these people around you have provided you kind of like a template to say that the thing you always wanted to do is possible now. You always wanted to make a career in surfing. You're seeing people who are making a career in surfing, and they're around you. They're in proximity. They're not far. They're people you meet, you see all the time. And also the way that they approach their mentality in what they're doing, their surfing or in the ring, provides you that template again to go, well, this is how you got to be if you want to be the best, you want to win, and you're following kind of their mental model of what they're doing. Yeah. But then you, like you said, you weren't able to distinguish how to separate that to going out and to the bars and your kind of social life, your normal life.
Yeah.
Where did that end up taking you?
Well, it started to take over everything I was doing. I started to when the weekend came, it was just heading down the pub with your mates, and there was no quiet nights. You went, you had a beer, we gave it a pretty decent nudge, and but it started to become every weekend. But I thought I'd get away with it, because to Monday through to Friday, I'd train my ass off. I was competing in jiu-jitsu at the time. Then I started doing mixed martial arts, so I was doing all the other components of mixed martial arts as well. And I was getting away with it. I was getting the scuffles out, and like I said, back in the day, you could without any repercussions. But that, I guess you can't do that for forever and not expect for it to come back and bite you. And eventually it did. I was up on the Gold Coast. My trainer and training partner, Alex Prats, was fighting up there in the mixed martial arts tournament. It was also the same weekend as Mick Fanning winning his first world title, and I got a bunch of mates on the Gold Coast who were all out celebrating that weekend. So I thought I'd go up, watch my coach Alex fight, and then spend the week up there with some mates on Coolangatta and celebrate Mick Fanning's world title. That it obviously led to another night of big drinking, and I went to a pub, had an argument in a pub, which led outside and split into a bit of an all-in brawl, and thought nothing of it. And I flew back home the next day, and then it was a few months later that detectives were after me about the assault, and one of the guys in the fight had a broken jaw, and I had to go up there and face the consequences. So I got extradited back to Queensland, thrown on a plane, had to face grievous bodily harm charges. So that was the turning point where I thought this lifestyle of going out and getting blind drunk every weekend, thinking that you're invincible and that nothing had any consequence, it was a big wake up. And again, going back to my family, it's not what I was in the papers and that kind of stuff. It was not how I wanted to represent my family. It's not how I want to represent myself or my friends. And I at the time, I had 1 or 2 MMA fights, and I could see a possible career path heading in that direction. I also had some sponsors jump on board for my surfing as well. So making like a real go of my, the career choices that I'd made and what I was really passionate about, what really drove me and what I loved, they started to seem more and more possible. Yeah. But this obviously threw a whole spanner in the works. So it made me reevaluate everything and made me want to change things in my lifestyle to focus back on what I enjoy doing, my passions, and curb a few behaviours that I was doing. And it was it just the partying and the drinking, and like I was known for the guy who just would drink and just be running around nude in half an hour, like swinging off like a ceiling fan, So and I thought I had to live up to that every time I drank. I thought I'd go
right.
And like I'm not saying I enjoy doing it. I love doing it. I love hanging out with my mates, making them laugh because they were like I had 20 mates doing the same shit. So it wasn't like I was just the only one doing it, but it was just the the kind of culture down Ruby. It was just everyone writes off as hard as they can.
It's what you do, right?
Yeah, like doing all kinds of dumb shit and. But like I said, it leads to a point where trying to make a professional career in big wave surfing or mixed martial arts, that drinking, partying lifestyle, they just don't marry. You know what I mean? So you get to a certain level, and be doing the both. But if you want to, push past that ceiling and actually make a career, and things will change. And like I look back on the whole charge and get extradited back to Queensland, something I'm very not proud of at all. It's a real dark moment when I look back at it, but I'm grateful in the lessons it taught me. If I didn't learn all those lessons then, I'm not sure when things would have changed, if they would have changed, and I might not be as fortunate to have done the things I've done in surfing and mixed martial arts. So, I really regret how it all panned out. I regret, what I caused the victim in that whole saga, what I caused my family, and all that kind of stuff. But man, I look back at it going, thank God I learned that lesson when I did, and made some changes.
And the lesson being that you can't keep doing that. You can't keep...
basically, grow up. Yeah. Grow up, mate. You can't go and be a piss idiot all your life and then also want to be respected as a professional athlete.
Right.
You can't have both. You want to be a piss idiot or that don't mix.
But see, this is... So you were at this crossroad in your life and your career. You had all the opportunity pretty much at the doorstep. So you had your surfing career in front of you. You had you won a few fights. So you could see there's an opportunity to make it in the professional fighting world. At the same time, you now have this GBH charge sitting on the doorstep, and you don't feel right in yourself. Like you said before, you come from a proud family, and you didn't want them to think, or anyone else to think of that you were that guy. Even though you might have done that thing, you said it's not really who you were, even though you did those sort of things.
Yeah, it was in the paper and stuff. I was getting marched through the airport in handcuffs with detectives either side of me and looked like a little terrorist. And like I said, I did carry on like a mug, but and thank God for when it all played out in the courts and the judge heard it for what it was. It was just young fellas at the pub full of piss, and it was just we're all stupid.
Right.
Even though the victim who I hit said he wasn't involved, but all his mates were. The judge thought it was I pled guilty to a much lesser charge, and thank God I didn't record a conviction, because I have a conviction recorder would have prevented me from travelling overseas to the States, Hawaii, would have affected both my surfing and fight career, and just something it
would have changed the whole trajectory of your life.
Exactly,
the whole thing. So you were facing in that moment your whole career and life that you could see happening crumbling down. In that one little moment, it could have taken away everything.
Exactly. All the sponsors, I was very fortunate, and it took me years and years and years to get those sponsors. No, obviously they don't want to be associated with someone who's carrying going to pub fights and getting in trouble. But like I said, the whole night, I didn't initiate the fight. The way it all panned out, it all panned out in the front and in the whole melee. It all. No, like I said, I was very grateful the judge thought for it was, and even the victim actually, his statement really painted that picture. Yeah. So, I felt very lucky and grateful that thank God the judge thought for what it was. Yeah. I still regret doing what I did. I'm not saying what I did was right by any means.
Yeah, but it was one of those.
But in context, it was. I was very grateful that he didn't record a conviction, and I didn't have to suffer the consequences of what that would lead on to. So,
right. But it provided you that second chance. It provided you that opportunity again.
Yeah, and that wake-up call, like I said, just to grow up, you just can't keep carrying on thinking like nothing ever going to come back to bite you, Don't just... Because, it just... maybe sit down and go, what makes you happy, truly happy? And I look, going out and partying with mates, it did make me happy for the short term, but that was an instant where I realised what truly makes me happy is training and competing in martial arts and doing surf trips and surfing some of the, really challenge yourself in some of the biggest, heaviest waves in the world, and staying fit and healthy, having a clear head. Because I realised that the partying was great, but it was definitely up and down. In between those great nights with your mates, it was I was down in the dumps and had to go to work and felt like shit and didn't want to train this week, and so I started to go in that direction as well. But definitely in the early days, I thought I could do it all, and you could, like in your late teens, early 20s, you can drink from Friday to Sunday and be full of beans Monday morning. But
were you getting pulled? I mean, were you getting pulled by either side? So you had your the guys you're training with, the guys you're surfing with, who might be really disciplined and focused on the things that they've got set to achieve in their careers and in their schedules. And then you had the going out, getting pissed, whatever else larrikin stuff you do on the weekends. Were they the same people or were they different? And were you getting pulled at that
There was
stage?
definitely a lot of crossover in some definitely down Maroubra, down the beach. Then I was so fortunate to have some of my best mates, be role models, and they didn't know they were the role models of mine, and they didn't know that I looked up to them so much. And they never sat me down and lectured me saying, "Hey, Rich, pull your head in. You can't keep drinking and carrying on, or you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that." They just went about their own life, achieving things in their own field of choice that would whether it be big wave surfing, music, film. Friends of mine went on to get their degree in law, or all areas of life. I was just like, and I'm sitting here just going, I've got this charge to face. I'm like, all the money I'm earning carpet lane just got to go to lawyers. I just, aspirations of surfing some of the best waves in the world or stepping into the octagon, they just feel like they're going falling by the wayside. So just by watching my mates achieve things in their own lives, I was like, yeah. And then they would, like Mark Matthews, he was Rich, we're going to Shipstone, and say he could see I was down the dumps and with all that's going on, and he'll drag me on surf trips just to sort of subtly say this is what we should be doing, kind of thing.
Right.
So I was very grateful to have those guys around, Kid Mac, Makari D'Souza, he's a musician, Kid Mac, and also a filmmaker who was behind Fighting Fear. Just going off and kicking goals in their own in their own life made me sort of go, I want to try and do some of the same. But of course, there was mates down on the beach say, "Hey, look, you got that charge. I can see you stressed out. Let's go for a beer." Of course, a beer would lead to a few more beers, and that's how it all starts again. Exactly. And they weren't doing it because they wanted me to get more in trouble, but it's just that's how you take your mind off it. Let's just go and have a few beers, have a laugh. So there's always still, and look, a lot of my mates go down at Maroubra. We definitely weren't angels. A lot of boys had gone on holidays, in the dick before, and everyone had a few charges. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. But
you made a conscious decision then to, I'm not saying you never drank again or anything after that point, but you made a conscious decision then to say, I don't want to risk this again in that way. Yeah,
and I didn't want to put my family back through it. I didn't want to, that's what I didn't want to be known. I didn't want to be known for that. I wanted to be known for my accomplishments in the water and, in the cage, and not for making dumb decisions on the drink. So I had influences again, like my mates wanting to, take my mind off things while having a drink, but and I'm unwilling to just realising that's the whole issue why I'm in this situation.
Right.
So, but thank God and all my friends from the martial arts world, they made it pretty clear that you can't party and carry on the way you're doing and expect to get the results inside the cage forever, because and reach the goals that you've set in the sport.
And you're able to do a lot of those things. You're able to, after that point, you did go on to fight in the UFC. You did go on to surf those waves that you always wanted to do. So that decision, that crossroad where a lot of people who have been in the similar sort of position before, more people in fact, have gone the other way, have fallen back into old routines, have not pursued the opportunity, haven't taken advantage of that second chance.
Yeah, and I very well could have too. There's moments where I was just angry at the world, fuck this, I'm working all week just to pay these lawyers, and all this. I didn't really care because, like I said, a lot of my mates, we'd all got in a bit of trouble, so I didn't care. Who cares if I get this charge? You know what I mean? Who cares? Everyone, life just goes on. I don't care. I'll just lay car for the rest of my life, and I was getting in that mindset of fuck the world kind of. But luckily, for a lot of my mates will go off doing things in their own life and really chasing their dreams.
They showed you,
and then also all my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mates and my mixed martial arts.
Right.
mates that I hang with, like my trades like Matty Gardner, Bruno Pano and Alex, I don't know if they did it intentionally, but they'll like give me like this routine, through the week to train, and obviously I couldn't live up to that routine or be there or perform the way I wanted to perform at training if I kept partying and kept drinking. So those two lifestyles just didn't match, and that's why I was so grateful for martial arts coming into my life when it did, because it really curbed my lifestyle. And although in Australia, it's mixed martial arts, it's got, I guess, broadly, it's got it's a bit of a bad rap for being barbaric, brutal, but people just don't understand because we're uneducated still in Australia about it. It's still in its infancy. So many positive things coming out of martial arts for youth in particular. Just such a great lifestyle. It gives it confidence, but just how to respect people and from all walks of life. So I'm so grateful for martial arts coming to my life when it did and curbing that lifestyle and that reflected back into my surfing too. That healthy living, clean living, and it was. I was very fortunate because, like you said, I know hundreds of mates who have been in similar situations, more talented than me in their own right, but haven't sort of made the changes, right. and luckily, like, I didn't have to sit down consciously make that change. It was because of the influences from martial arts and influence from other friends. It kind of was subtly, led me that way, like I didn't.
It was there though. It was there. You saw it around you. You saw that you didn't just have one group of friends or one part of your life. There was other part of your life that showed you there is something else I can do here. There's people around me that don't do this sort of thing. There's another avenue for me. So with that being said, then how did you get into MMA and that side of things? Yeah,
so look, I always loved training as a kid. Playing footy, I loved cross country, doing loves this real active kind of kid. And then when I sort of started surfing and realised I want to try and push myself in the big surf, I put more of an emphasis on training. Kobe, when he was at his peak, he was one of the most recognised surfers in the world. He had a big belief in training, staying fit. So when you're in the ocean, you can handle whatever it throws at you. So training was something I always loved. Boxing was a big part of that. And then
sorry, just to interrupt. When you say training, was Kobe doing martial arts training or just gyms or
more boxing
sort of stuff,
weights,
right.
So like chins, did all that body weight,
right.
Was it calisthenics? Running the beach, we'd do underwater running, go underwater with rocks, and now try to run to increase your lung capacity and get comfortable underwater.
Right. So it wasn't just surfing; you had a full
it was specific for big wave surfing.
Right.
We want to get comfortable being underwater and getting fit, even just strong throughout for when you're surfing the big waves. They can be pretty bumpy and it'd be pretty hard to ride those waves.
Yeah.
And then obviously when it went pear shaped, to be knowing that you're fit enough to handle those wipeouts.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 2000 and early 2000s, 2001, 2002. Bruno Pano and Alex Pratt moved to Maruba Beach. Brazilian guys, under the Gracie. Bruno was under Hoyler Gracie, and that academy in Brazil came over and started teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it was actually Alex who had moved to Maruba Beach and was just training up at the SEALs Club. The SEALs, they got a little gymnasium up there,
right.
doing whatever he was doing. I think it was Jai and Kobe who were also up at the gym having a little train, and I think they noticed Alex's cauliflower ears and started asking questions about it. And before no time, he was on the ground grappling, and Alex was showing them, this is what I do, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Alex is now one of Rob Whittaker's head trainers for Jiu-Jitsu in his corner. And I think at the time he was just a purple belt. Started showing the boys on the ground of the SEALs gym, a few submissions, a few arm bars, maybe rear naked choke, and then the boys just left that day and, mate, should see he's a Brazilian guy. He was doing this stuff called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like more tapping. He was choking us out. It was crazy. Before long, he was teaching us all in one of the boys' garages down the gym. Right. So we just put a few mats down in the garage, and he brought down a couple of old gis or whatnot, and just started teaching us. And that then led us. Alex said, "Well, if you want to learn properly, come meet Bruno and teaching." So it all stemmed from there. Before long, Bruno was teaching Maruba Surf Club. Right. So the boys just took to it like, ducks to water. And we loved it. And that was the introduction to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And we all started competing straight away because Bruno was like big on, let's train, but let's also, compete as our academy, and go in and, it was the New South Wales Federation Cups were on quite regularly. So, it was awesome. And, it was a wild time. We were doing jiu-jitsu in the surf club at the beach, just across the road at the pub, and we used to train every Friday arvo. So we'd go from training Friday arvo, straight to the pub for a few beers, and we're all getting put to sleep at the bar. And if you didn't know jiu-jitsu, it was not safe to walk in the pub on a Friday because we're all trying to put each other to sleep. And Bruno would run in and say, you don't do it outside the gym. You don't put.
He's trying to bring his Brazilian discipline in there.
Yeah. But we all learned this new skill, and we all thought it was hilarious. Awesome. It was hilarious jumping on your mate's back and putting him to sleep while he was ordering a beer. So it was crazy. But that's how we were introduced to it. We're very, very fortunate for Bruno and Alex to, luckily move to Maroubra. They love to surf as well. So it was just I guess Brazil and Australia with the surf and the martial art aspect, similar to the guys in Hawaii. It's just such a great crossover and a great lifestyle to have. And once we started, doing jiu-jitsu, it just took off.
Yeah. And then how did that get into mixed martial arts then? So you went into, from jiu-jitsu, you were competing in jiu-jitsu, and then what made you want to go and stand up and strike and mix it all up?
Yeah, well, it's like I said, boxing was always a great way of staying fit, but also because we had guys like Ronnie Reardon, Kurt Barham, who's a guy my age who made to a great career as a professional boxer. We weren't just doing it to stay fit. We were trying to learn proper boxing techniques, and Ronnie would show us. We had a guy called Big Bitch, who was a Kiwi guy who won lots of kickboxing titles over in New Zealand, who was living in, he's a Bra boy as well, he lived in Maroubra for years. So we were trying to learn, the actual art of boxing and kickboxing as well. So then when we started learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I thought, wow, I love this grappling. I'm going in a few tournaments, doing okay. I love striking as well. Yeah. That to me, that's all that mixed martial arts was. It was throwing punches,
striking,
on the ground, so then when that small man syndrome kicked in, when I got asked, what would you do? I'm like, yeah, of course I would. I'd jump in there. And, I always told Bruno, if I would. Ian Schaefer, who's, he was a huge idol of mine because he was training under Bruno as well. And he was definitely leading the way in Australian mixed martial arts. He killed it on the local scene, went to Japan, fought some of the biggest names. Kid Yamamoto, who passed away just in the last few days. So, rest in peace. Ian, fought the legend that was Kid, and gave him a hell of a time. So, Ian was someone I looked up to in the MMA world, and lucky enough, he was one of my training partners, one of my mates, and I've
got to get him on the podcast.
Yeah,
it's good stories, that guy.
Yeah, he'll have a bunch. Yeah. So he was there, and he was making it mate, that it was possible to make a career out of fighting. So again, like I said, I always showed an interest in it. I probably spoke before I thought in terms of when I got asked if I would ever want to do it. I said yes, and then
you worked the rest out.
Then opportunities popped up, and because I'd already thrown my hat in the ring, I was like, all right, let's do it. But thank God I did, because I really realised as terrified as I was walking into the cage the first time, I realised I loved it, and then it just sort of got its claws in me, and I just want to learn more and more about the sport, more techniques, more skills from all the components of MMA, and the hunger to compete. Like I said, I've always loved competing, and there's opportunities there, so I just thought, don't know, die wonder, I'll give it a nudge and see where it leads to. And initially when I started competing in mixed martial arts, I although I could see Ian going to Japan and making a career out of it, I never really thought I'm going to do it long term and make a career, because at the time the UFC didn't have our weight classes, the lightest weight class was lightweight, 70. So there wasn't really an avenue for me to pursue. And there weren't many
UFC fighters anyway then?
No, I think there was none. I think Elvis Sinisek had maybe fought a few times, but obviously all the bigger guys. It was even pretty hard for me to stay active as in Australia, because it wasn't that. It was a very new sport, and there wasn't many guys my weight to fight, so I had to bounce around weight classes to stay active. But surfing was still my main passion. It's still what I wanted to really pursue. But luckily, like I said, they really complemented each other well. But just sort of stayed at it, and then things started to change. The sport got exploded here in Australia like it did globally. Eventually then, the UFC acquired the WEC, or the lighter weight class, so the opportunity of actually making a career became more and more realistic. And then, the Ultimate Fighter, Australia versus the UK, opportunity popped up, and I was applied for that. I found out it was lightweight, but I thought, I was fighting it as a bantamweight at the time. I thought, look, too good opportunity not to miss out on. Had to go, and got selected as lightweight, and then that's when I went, all right, I want to try and crack the UFC, and a bit of hard work, but eventually got there, So.
And you didn't get it through the tough, right?
No, I didn't get it through the show. As great as the experience was in the house, I didn't get the results that I was after, but I thought I did maybe enough to get on their radar. And the the guys, Joe Silver, Sean Shelby, they knew that I wasn't a lightweight, that I was a bantamweight, and I knew I could make even flyweight. So because I was making bantamweight very easily at the time. So the actual nutritionist of the UK side, Dean Namasinga, we got chatting inside the house, and he was like, "Mate, you can make flyweight easy. We put a few little measures in place. I get fighting at flyweight." So I told the UFC, "Look, mate, thank you for the opportunity," because they eventually said, "Look, mate, thank you for being on the show, but you didn't get a contract out of it. Continue fighting, get a few impressive wins, and we can consider your chances in the future." So I did that, got a few wins under my belt, got a few titles here in Oz. But I told the guys at UFC, I said, "Listen, I'll fight bantamweight, I'll fight flyweight, I'll fight featherweight. Well, I can make flyweight, whatever weight class you want me in. This is coming out of the house, fighting at lightweight."
When you say you told the guys, was that when you're at the house you told them, or after?
That is after, yeah. So through management and Sean Shelby and Joe Silver directly, I said I can make flyweight.
So you kept contact with them going through the whole thing,
exactly.
right?
So in regular contact, whenever I'd fight, they'd know that I was fighting. So outside the UFC, if I got the result, hey guys, had a great win, blah blah. Just keeping them updated on.
You contacted them, or
and through my management, I had Jahinha and Ed Soares from Tough Media, and Black House Gym over in the States were looking after me. So they were just feeding the UFC,
right?
And the
just want to stay on their radar. So you guys, whenever, okay,
yeah,
all right,
and that's what So once you're on there, you want to just keep, make a bit of noise and not let them, you want to try and force their attention.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I could make flyweight, and at the time they just introduced flyweight. They were trying to build that division. So I think it was like December 2013 or something. I got the call. I said, "Hey, we want you as a flyweight. We were doing a show up in Brisbane in 6 weeks." There it is. So I was like, "Fuck." I was over in Asia at the time, talking to promotions over there, like One FC and Legends FC, just about staying active, because at the time I couldn't stay active in Australia. All my opponents were international guys flying in, and I wanted to stay active. I wanted to get that good run going. Instead of coming out of the house, I wanted to kick on that momentum and stay active. And so I was almost signed to a promotion in Asia. Got back, got the phone call from UFC, and went, "You beauty, let's do it." So.
And then the UFC's years begin.
Yeah.
What was that like? So what was it like preparing for that fight and the first fight? And take me through what was going through your head in the week or two leading up to it.
Yeah, it was like, initially it was like, when I got told that I've got the contract, I'm signed, I've got a date now to work towards. It was a relief, because you're hoping for that contract, but also, okay, now this is the big stage. This is where you want to put in your best performance.
This is the fucking UFC, right? The lights are going to be on you. This is everything.
Exactly. So, it's great in serving, in making sure you train and you put 100% in your preparation and stuff. But also when you something, I could feel the pressure a little bit more now. This is where I want to put in my best performance. I don't want to make any mistakes. And there's also the challenge of making the flyweight, which is a weight class that I'd never made before.
Yeah, wow.
I was very confident I could make it, but
that in itself is
so
another thing to worry about.
That was a challenge in my in the preparation, but it was as the date got closer, I started feeling pretty good. The weight was coming off. It was a definite challenge, because I'd never really cut weight too drastically in the past. And then going up there and fighting in front of a huge sold-out Brisbane crowd against a hot prospect from the States, who I was very confident I was going to beat up and get an impressive win on debut. It didn't pan out the way that I'd planned, and it was a roller coaster. Stoked to have made the UFC. But real bummer I didn't get and put in the performance that I was after. But look, I'd made the weight, so that was like, I knew I could do that now. So I just wanted to, sort of regroup, refocus, get back into it. I wanted to get a fight as soon as possible again to get back in there and, get that first UFC win. So thank God it wasn't too long after that I got signed on to fight in the first show in Auckland. So I went over the States with a bit of preparation. I had a sponsor at the time, Ruka, RVCA, who sponsored a bunch of surfers and fighters, and they got a great gym over there, like boxing coach Jason Perillo and the Mendez brothers in jiu-jitsu. So spent a bit of time over in California training, about 4 weeks, and then came back, do about 6 weeks here before I went to New Zealand to fight in Auckland. And I felt the pressure again. I didn't put 2 losses back to back, and the UFC is pretty cutthroat in terms of 2 losses. You can get shown the door pretty quickly and lose your contract. So I went in there, kind of fought safe, probably because I was probably thinking of not losing rather than winning, and got the win over 3 rounds, but it wasn't a performance I wasn't too proud of. It was just a pretty, but thank God got that win, held on to the contract, and then it kept moving on.
Take me through the pressure. So take me through that pressure of what goes through your head before you go into a fight, before you step into the octagon. How do you manage it?
That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part of the sport, in my opinion. Especially when you reach those elite level. Everyone who's in the UFC is, they're physical athletes. Their skill set is amazing. They're all extremely well rounded. I think it becomes that mental preparation and that their mental approach stepping in there is what separates them. And I thought I'm not going to be scared of the big lights and the pressure and all that. That's not going to affect me. But definitely looking back, it did. And I work with a sports psych to just try and all that mental chatter. It's like it's a whirlwind of emotions. One day you're on top of the world, you're invincible. Next day you're questioning yourself. Oh, I've got a little injury here, and that weight's not coming off like I thought it would be. And so just staying positive throughout. And then especially on the night, walking in there, I just had a few trigger words that I would say to either keep me on my game plan, and just focus on the things that I could control.
Yeah.
You get so caught up in worrying about your opponent and what they could, but that's out of your control.
Right.
It's like, a good saying, don't worry about the uncontrollables. So I just focus on my breath, keeping my heart rate down, staying as calm as I could. Because if I'm relaxed, I react better. And just trying to keep on top of it all. But it's wild, like the lights, the crowd.
Yeah.
Walking there into that octagon, hearing the door close, and all right, here's the months and months of training. Here we go now, and it's like you're at that level where a mistake will cost you the fight. So it's just you're not. I guess people who don't compete are probably thinking, the fear is all about the physical damage that you may incur or what. My fear was like just not performing to my best. You know what I mean? Not making that mistake or not. Letting my coaches down or not just not performing at my best was my fear. I believed wholeheartedly whenever I stepped in there I could beat my opponent, but I will probably require the best from me, and sometimes it's just they're not getting the result that you're after. Is fear of failure. I guess
fear of failure and fear of letting people down. You said the expectations.
I had so much support from friends and family, and but when you win in front of a home crowd, it's the best feeling in the world.
Right.
To celebrate with your friends and family, and they all go for that ride with you together. They're all sweaty palmed and their fingernails in the crowd in the lead up, and then they're all just jumping out of their skin when you get the win, and it's the best feeling ever. And to see and to have it not go your way, and they're down, you feel like you owe them an apology, and whenever you do, they just don't be silly.
And because if you've been in their seat, you're like, what? No, it's fine.
But
it's funny you mentioned that. A few of the people I've interviewed, one a guy named Steve Sims who works with millionaires and billionaires around the world, and basically it's like a make-a-wish for millionaires, and anything that they want in the world he can kind of organise, from being married by the Pope or having Andrea Bocelli sing to you. He said the funny thing is with it's extremely successful people that he deals with isn't so much their fear of failure, it's the fear of embarrassment, of letting someone down, of being embarrassed or humiliation. And another guy I spoke to, Jamie Pride, who deals with entrepreneurs and ultra successful entrepreneurs and failed entrepreneurs, he said what people fear is the humiliation of letting people down. So it's interesting that in all different aspects, also in the fight world, it's that fear of letting someone down, of disappointing someone else. Not so much the pain of what you're going to deal with. And I think in all different parts, whether it be from business or on a physical side of things, you can deal with what's hitting you. But it's what that means to other people around you that sometimes weighs on your mind. So that's an interesting crossover to me.
Yeah, it is. It's and it's you're in there, you're sort of representing your friends, your family, all your training partners, the gyms you train from, but also just deep down inside, I just want to go in there and just perform my best, and sometimes when you have those little mental glitches, like a little lack of confidence or your second doubt, you sort of that's all it takes sometimes,
And then you don't get to fight the best fight you could have.
Yeah,
and then you always regret.
Again.
You're like, I wish I could have fought the fight I knew I could have fought.
Yeah, and sometimes I walked into a fight super relaxed, calm, confident, and just had
right.
fantastic performances. Sometimes it's quite, you can't, for whatever reason, you can't quite get that confidence or that level of calm and comfortability in there. This fight, every fight's different, every preparation's different, but sometimes and definitely when you reach a level, the mental prep is the biggest factor. You heard things growing up as a kid, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. I hear that kind of stuff from coaches and stuff. Going, what do you mean? It's all what are you talking about? It's all about being bigger, faster, stronger. What's the mental aspect got to do with it? And then, but obviously as you get older, you start to realise, whoever's
especially at that level, right? I mean, the thing that's, like you just said before, the thing that differentiates people at your level or that level is you've both been training amazing. You're both amazing athletes, some of the best in the world. It's that little mental difference that makes the difference.
And when the going gets tough, who can stay on their game plan and stay with their head in the fight? There had been fights there where I just couldn't wait for it to end. I'm just like, and I wasn't getting beat up, and I was just like, and I was, it was a competitive fight, but I was just like, mate, just want to get this over and done with. You know what I mean? And that's not the right frame of mind to be in a fight,
especially in a fight, right?
You want to be bloodthirsty, wanting to get the get the result. And I think looking back too, and I didn't admit this at the time, but cutting down to 57 kilos and fighting at fly wasn't the best. And I was at the time saying it's a weight class for me. This is the right one. But I didn't perform my best down there. I didn't prepare my best because the focus was so much on the losing those kilos in the lead up to the fight, not so much as my preparation at training and my performance at training. Sorry. So it's things like that's why since fighting the UFC, I've gone back up to bantamweight, enjoying training so much more. Feel like I'm performing much better. So there is, but. The mental side of thing, it's huge, and you see it in all professional sports. You see guys who are untouchable at the top of their game and have a little glitch or loss or something, and then never reclaim that form of glory. And I think
Ronda Rousey, look at that. It's just like, what happened?
Totally. Even Tiger Woods, he was untouched, and then all that drama outside, it's affected his game. I think it's like physically, he didn't have an injury. He didn't. Nothing's happened to him in that regard. So he's still the same, physical structure, like beast. But it's just obviously it's the mental side of things that's changed, and I guess it's the control center, isn't it? It controls the machine. If there's glitches up top, the machine doesn't work.
And you said you've spoken to a sports psychologist before. Did they give you any tools or tips that worked for those situations?
Yeah, look, it was John Novak too. So he did a lot of help with me, a lot of work. He was working for the Bulldogs at the time, and they were having a lot of success. And he was just he called it the boomerang effect. What you put out there, you get back, and it's all about being positive. So try to. And there's a lot of negative chatter when you're in fight prep. You put your opponent on a pedestal, and sometimes you doubt yourself and all that kind of stuff. But it's just about positive reinforcement, enjoying the challenges, embracing the challenges. It is hard, but that's why you do it. You want these challenges, and also breaking it down too to simplifying things. My life is more than just mixed martial arts and competing. So being grateful for everything in your life,
Putting it in perspective.
Put it in perspective. Right. So, at the end all and be all, you're going to walk in there, whatever may happen, life's still good. Sun still comes up tomorrow. Don't put so much emphasis on got to get the win or end all and be all.
Right.
So that made me relax as well. I am very grateful in my life, what I have in my life outside of fighting. So that's not going to change regardless of this. And so don't worry too much of the consequence. Just enjoy the process. Be as present as you can.
Right.
Control what you can control. All these little subtle things, and it helped a lot. Especially, I'd go down and sit and visualise. In my time off between training for the week, I'd just go sit at North Maroubra and just just sort of kind of, I guess, meditate in a way, but more visualise the whole fight, going all through different kinds of scenarios. Being in bad situations, being in good situations, seeing my hand raised, seeing myself. Working my way out of trouble and just getting comfortable with it all, because it also can be very exhausting, when you're preparing for a fight, to switch off mentally, you're constantly thinking about the fight, it's even downtime between sessions, you want to relax and try and have a snooze or whatever, chill out, but it can be hard when your brain's constantly ticking over about
the
fight.
Scenarios. Right?
So if I could just put 20 minutes aside or where it is, go through all those scenarios, be comfortable with them, then get on with the rest of my day, like a little bit more relaxed, and I can have that little bit of peace.
So you allocated a time that you could run the scenarios through, but that was that time just for
and
that.
Just go like, what am I worried about? All right, let's just focus on what I'm worried about. Let's just visualise all the scenarios, positive and negative, and then so then you make peace. Okay, I can sort all that out. Whatever may be thrown at me, we can get through it, and then I sort of go on the rest of the day and get on with things.
And what drives more fear? Those moments leading up to a big octagon fight, or being on a 20-foot, 30-foot wave?
Yeah, I know. Like, it's because I think about it too, and like logically, being out in the ocean should be way scarier in terms of the risk factor.
There's no ref. There's no doctor.
Like, you're in a controlled environment in the cage.
Man.
It's as bad as it can go. You've got medical staff on saying, look, if you don't want to be there anymore, tap whatever. Like, you control that. But in the ocean, you fall. You're at the mercy of Mother Nature. And now, like I said, a lot of these waves, they break in really isolate places. So but I don't know. I think growing up around the ocean, from as long as I can remember, I feel more comfortable in the ocean than I do walking into the octagon. And I guess mixed martial arts came into my life a little later. But I guess it's with all the other aspects, all the eyes on you under the big lights, all the pressure of you want to get that win, and as much as you try not to think about the consequence of your career, you want to move forward, you want to try and get those bigger fights. They can all add that pressure. I guess in the ocean, you don't have that pressure in terms of you're just sort of focusing solely on riding that wave, and you're not sort of worrying about anything else. But I guess I was always searching for that level of comfort that I found in the ocean. I was searching for that walking into the octagon. And I did get with the experience. I got more and more comfortable. But it's I guess the fear factor was probably greater walking in the octagon. And I'm not sure why really. Like I said, there's so many more factors I guess that I was thinking about when I was walking in the octagon. Then when you're out in the ocean, you kind of solely got tunnel vision on one task, and that's not falling off that wave. But it's pretty wild. But I guess it's why you enjoy it. What keeps bringing me back is because I enjoy that little bit of fear and that the sense of accomplishment when it all goes right. When that fear factor is there and the risk when it all goes to plan. It's an amazing feeling. That
was going to be my question. Why do you do all? Why have you kept on doing all this? You could have stopped at any point, especially when the whole UFC thing started changing. You've gone on to obviously pursue more, but you're still training. You're still surfing. What about all this stuff keeps you going?
I do really enjoy it. The ocean is the where I always want to be. Where I'm spearfishing, swimming, diving, surfing, whatever it may be. It's like it just brings me so much peace and happiness. It's like what brings me joy. Of course, family and friends. But if you're talking about environments and what drives me to keep surfing big waves, I just love being out, and I just love the challenge. I love going on that adventure to find that new wave or putting myself in an environment where if you I guess that cherry of making that wave, making that barrel, getting spat out into the channel, and you're on high for months after a wave like that. So and in terms of mixed martial arts, as I said, I always loved training as a kid. I love staying fit and active, and you never stop learning in mixed martial arts. There's no ceiling to it. So every day in the gym, you're learning more. You're finding out new stuff. I've just come from the gym before rolling, doing some jiu-jitsu at Gracie, Sydney with my mate Owen, and again, just mind getting blown again about that's what I've been doing wrong. That little step, that little technique that was missing. Now I can get that that submission. So, and then when I'm training, I want to compete still. Because that reignites a fire to.
And why do you want to compete? I mean, what is competition? Because a lot of people train but don't compete. Majority would. The ones who compete, there's something different. So why do you compete? Why do you take on the bigger waves? Why do you take on the bigger fights? Have you in your career, I should say?
Yeah, I think it's for that challenge, you know what I mean? It's I like the feeling of putting it all on the line and going, I love training in the gym, rolling, practice, you can make mistakes, get caught, it's no big deal, but I like the feeling of, okay, now I'm going to put all those techniques into place, but there's a risk if I don't do it right and get caught and get submitted, it's a do or die kind of scenario,
Every time you're putting this pressure on yourself over and over again, you keep going back in for more.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element sometimes I'm like, what am I doing this again for? Even when fighting or in the ocean, something like, fuck, why am I back out here? Looking at someone on the cliff, going, I wish I was just standing on dry land. But then a wave will pop up, and your thought, your mindset would change. You go, all right, this is the one, and you you know, it's the same. There's that anxiety and stuff. It's not always like pleasurable, but to work through it and not let the fear or anxiety sort of prevent you from achieving that goal is a pretty rewarding feeling as well. You know?
Right. So confronting the fear, confronting the challenge, and pushing yourself to constantly face it is a reward.
My mate Mark Matthews, he makes a career out of doing talks on fear now, you know, big corporate talks, and he says it like, you know, I'm paraphrasing now, but it's basically like, you know, the best feeling in the world, or some of the best moments of your life are just on the other side of that fear. You know, like if you just push through that fear and don't let it dictate your choices and don't let it control your life, and you just push through it, they're some of the most amazing moments you're ever going to experience. And it's so true, you know, if you can just not base your decisions on the fear, because it's all like you don't know what's going to pan out. Like walking the octagon, all these fears that I'm experiencing, they're just in my head. They're not certainties. Now, this guy's not going to knock me out for certain, you know. Yeah, it's a possibility, but I might knock him out too, you know. So, but I'm basing my decisions like it's a definite, you know.
Right,
I mean,
like it's already happened in your head.
Someone might go like, oh, I'm not going to go out there because you get smashed. Well, yeah, you might, you know, in the ocean, but you might get the best wave of your life as well. So don't succumb to that outcome like it's a definite, you know what I mean? So, I think
it's fighting fear, which is the name of your
book. Yeah, exactly. And it's so
That's
true.
It is.
It is like it's fears. I think it's a great thing to have, but it's like I said, it's there for a reason. Physiologically, it gets you out of the hairs on the neck, standing back, and it gets that heart rate up, the adrenaline, makes you switch on, that fight or flight instant kicks in, we know, especially when you're octagon. So it has a great purpose in that respect, but I think
a lot of people lose to it, though. A lot of people lose to the control of fear and become paralyzed by it and don't end up crossing over or taking those chances. They go the safe route. They take the secure option.
Yeah, and I think it's that comfort zone. People don't like we don't like stepping out of comfort zone too much anymore either.
Yeah.
And it's like, but once you do, and it, like for example, it doesn't go your way or whatever, you didn't get the result you wanted, and you live through it, like all right.
You don't seem like someone who likes to be comfortable. You seem like someone who constantly wants to push to see what else. I mean, not just from a sport point of view, even from a professional career point of view. Hosting this show on Fox, you were a fighter. You hadn't had any career in media, right? That I know of.
No, well, I was doing. You know, we did the Fighting Fear with Mark and Mac, and then that spilled onto a little series called The Crew we had on Fuel TV and Channel Go. So. But there was no training or whatever. I was just being ourselves in front of it.
So when
I was offered the opportunity to do UFC Fight Week, I don't know, fear of missing out or not. I don't want to die wondering. You know what I mean? It looks like a cool opportunity. Let's just I'm totally out of my comfort zone. I've got no idea what camera to look at or how to string words together. You know, I mumble at the best of times. Just go in and see how it fares. And again, doesn't work out, but. It
seems to be a constant theme in your life where even before your first fight is saying, yeah, I'll do it, or when you had to drop weight to fight at, was it feather?
Yeah, flyweight.
Flyweight.
Yeah.
So you kept saying yes, I'll do it, and you'll work out the rest as you go. You're constantly pushing yourself out of that comfort zone and working out the rest as you get there.
Yeah.
In order to experience what it's like outside of that comfort and to feel those moments of life there.
Yeah, I hate regret too, and like you know, sometimes if you don't say yes, and then the opportunity slips you by, you're like, oh man, maybe I could have, maybe I could have taken that fight and beat that bloke, or maybe I could have paddled out and got the biggest wave of the day, and that eats me alive inside. You know, that drives me mad. So it's and like I said, like I joke about the small man. I always like as a kid pipe up, but now I just like don't want to die wondering, you know, or like I don't want to. You
don't want to die with regret.
Yeah, and like, people say regret nothing, but you know, I'll regret heaps of stuff in my past. You know, lots of things I would have changed and done differently. But again, if I'm happy where I'm at now in life, or then maybe it'll happen for a reason. So it's a funny one, but I just think give things a nudge. You know, try things out. Regardless of the outcome, I think you're going to be better for it, you know, for the experience. So that's how I try to look at it, you know.
Yeah.
Jump in the deep end and regardless, unless you drown, you're better off with the experience.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, it's pretty hard to kind of mention your name or look you up anywhere without coming across the Bra Boys. For those who don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't even know that much besides the name and a few stories you hear here and there. What is it?
So Bra Boys is just like the Bondi Boys or the Bondi Boys. They're just a group of guys who grew up at Maroubra. Surf community, but no, just all the guys who grew up at the beach. So yeah, I guess it all started in the early 90s. And like a lot of that sort of gang mentality from the States was really through music or whatever. Or no, it was really taken off over in Australia, and there was lots of gangs around around Sydney, and a bit like basically they started filtering down the beach and causing trouble, and it's all scuffles and all sorts of stuff kicking off. The boys at Maroubra had been called names all the way back into the 1930s, like all different kinds of names, and then with these groups of guys coming down, and of course there was a nightclub at the beach in the Seals Club called the Tramps at the time. So, but then like it was surrounded by a lot of government housing, and there was like at Lexington Place there was this gang called ETG, which is a gang that was called in California back in the day, in LA. So then got gangs from Marrickville, all this kind of thing. That mentality was kind of taken hold in Sydney. And the boys down Maroubra said, "Look, fuck, we're sick of these groups coming down and causing trouble, and we're getting into fights all the time. Like, we're not going to leave our home to look for fights or look for trouble, but if they come down, let's band together and protect our home. This is where we live, this is where we love, and we're proud to be." So Jack Kingsley, a mate of mine who's a bit older, he drew up a Maroubra, the last three letters of Maroubra being Bra. He said, let's, with the Bra Boys. And it was a nickname that I guess was thrown around, just like many nicknames in the beach in the past. And I said, mate, I'm going to get it tattooed across me, and this is, I'm going to be Bra. They made a big stencil called Bra Boys. So here's the boys for the hand. I said, fuck, I'm going to get one too. And that's, if you're proud of where you're from and you want to protect your place, and let's get it branded on us. And so they did. But maybe 10 of them went up there and got it all done. And that was, like I said, in the early 90s, and now there's hundreds of it. Still, like only a couple of weeks ago, a bunch of the young fellas got it all branded across them. So it's just a community brotherhood. It expands much more now than like I said, Maroubra's changed a lot now from what from when it started, but it's still very much just people who love where they live, proud of where they're from, love to surf and love the community. So it's had all kinds of, I guess, definitions through the media in the past, and look, a lot of it's been warranted, not angels by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely around the time the documentary came out, a lot of the media was pretty negative, but I guess that's why the documentary kind of took place, as well as the opportunity for us to give our side of the story.
And so how did you get into the Bra Boys?
So it's just basically growing up in the area, doing like
surfing, just being in the area.
Like surfing was the main thing, but then just hanging out, just beach culture, all hanging out down the beach, and then so it's just basically by growing up down there, getting like they were just the guys I grew up with, basically. So that was that, and there's
no hierarchy. Right?
No, not at all.
So it's not a gang.
These guys who are like, I guess people I look up to and stuff. And growing up, there's like
respect,
leaders in the community.
There's
definitely like no organised gang as such. Right. We got labelled that in the media, and like we couldn't organise a sausage system, any kind of like organised crime. Yeah, right. So there's no like initiation process or anything. Like, you just basically live down there. Like I say, so everyone's known you for forever, and you're a stand up kind of trustworthy guy, and and then basically you either get asked if you want to get a tattoo, like if people thought you might be interested, mate, if you want to get one, go for it, and then we'll all go up together, have a few beers and dinner and get it. Or like the young fellas recently put a few of their young mates forward, say, I think so-and-so's, he's 20-something now, he's been down here since he was a kid, he's a great kid, blah, blah, stand-up kind of character. And they would put the word out throughout the rest of the community, the group, and say, what do you reckon about so-and-so? And then if so-and-so, had an opinion or whatever, they would voice it. Yep. And then, if it was all good to go, then, we'll all have a feed and go up and, get scarred up, we call it. But now it's the tattoos gotten much bigger. Like when they started out, it was like a little postage stamp almost. And now the boys getting these days to just, covering the whole back. Pretty classic. But the vibe down at Maroubra now is as good as it's ever been,
That's awesome.
It's been up and down in terms of the way the community was heading in the past, but like I said, where the place and the community and the Bra Boys is at the moment is unbelievable. The kids are growing up just surf mad, awesome. Performing unbelievable in the water, but still encourage whether it be footy or whatnot, encourage to have a go in whatever you love down there, and so it's a great place.
It was tough back in the day, though, right? From what I hear from my friends that used to be up in the area, they said Maroubra, if you wanted to find a fight, it wouldn't be hard to find one around there back in the day.
Yeah, it was like that kind of mentality of you come and respect the air was upheld much more, or were encouraged. Like if a guy goes out and hassles you and he's been a dick in the water, just you drag him on the beach and you punch the shit out of him, and you could get away with and that, like I said, happened in all kind of beaches with localism. But Maroubra just felt like I said, the ugly duckling. It was like the Wild West. You could get away with stuff. The pub was just an absolute madhouse. There's always fights in the pub. So it definitely had that reputation of fights and a lot of aggro down there. But
in the media, it looked like it peaked around the time where the Bra Boys documentary was shot, and that was circulating around the murder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you talk me through that? What was it like being there around then and knowing all the guys? What was the feeling like around then?
It was I look back on it now and go, wow, it was crazy. I can't believe that all of that was going on. Because there was so much attention down there. And I think that fed into the place going off the rails a little bit more. So like young fellas got the wrong impression of what they had to do to get respect down there, or what it meant to be a bra boy. Kind of lost a bit of its true meaning. Right. It was all about going mad, getting in trouble, or the mayhem. Probably took precedent. But just seeing like some of your best mates, I was so close to the Abram brothers, still am today, and I was good mates with Heinzie too, who got killed. But to see all that unfold, and then going through the courts and seeing Kobe get caught up in the courts, and then all the attention that brought to the place, it was just surreal. I was sort of at the time, I was pretty young, and it was a wild time just because so much stuff with serious consequences going on, and it was still, the place was still, it was still pretty wild too. There's lots of chaos down at the beach, and for all sorts of reasons. Like I said, I think it lost its way a little bit there too, with especially all the young fellas just not taking the messages out of the documentary or the right way, and also brought a lot of different crew down to the beach, maybe because they wanted to get some of that spotlight or wanted to impress or whatever it was,
try to prove themselves.
So it sort of went a bit weird down there for a while, but definitely sort of sorted itself out again now, and it's always been that place. I guess when you talk about being a rough place, it wasn't a place we were super proud of where we're from. You never want to be seen as a guy to back away from a fight, or that, like I said, that testosterone charged place, and that often cause for wild times.
And what role did being in the Bra Boys and having that community play in your life and career as you progressed?
It was double-edged sword, to be honest. It was that media attention was great. You kind of built your profile a little bit, and maybe like fight promoters wanted to get you on their cards because you brought a big crowd, but then could also see as a risk because that crowd could cause drama. But as I say, I get more success in my fight career, and the fact that I was like a professional surfer as well, that kind of helped in terms of my profile and that crossover between surf and martial arts. But also being a bra boy, that the negative media of being a bra boy was pretty evident. Sponsors saw it as a risk to back an athlete who's a bra boy, because of the trouble associated with it. So it really was a double-edged sword. In many aspects, friends of mine who entrepreneurial business sense, it was a huge hindrance because they just in the business world or even sponsorship. Mark Matthews had he was saying sometimes big brands just don't associate themselves with himself, who was doing amazing in the big wave world, just because they see the whole Maroubra element as a risk. So it definitely was a double-edged sword. It helped you in some areas, helped you because it gave you a bit more profile or set you apart from, so in my case, other fighters, because you had a little bit of a different backstory. Maybe promoters wanted to saw that interesting, get you on their cards, but also sponsorships want to be associated with you. They just
right.
So it was it's a weird one. Sometimes you scratch your head as to why some people saw it or their view on it, and that's what got frustrating too, because their perception of Maroubra and being a bra boy could be so skewed due to the media coverage of the place. So sometimes it was a little bit frustrating. hearing things and people making decisions off things where you weren't entirely accurate. But like I said, we weren't angels down there, and we can't complain too much about how we're portrayed in the media. But it is what it is.
Last few questions. If you could give your daughter no money, network, name, what 3 beliefs or values would you wish her to have?
Definitely in today's society, for her to be happy in her own skin and be true to herself. I know I probably wasn't true to myself throughout my youth, and that steered me in some directions I looking back wasn't proud of. But yeah, be happy in your own skin, that she can accomplish anything, whatever she's passionate about, go out and chase it. And yeah, I know, like, just really, I love just to instill in my daughters to pursue what she loves, whatever she wants, just go for it, and just I guess don't let fear get in the way of making those choices, like whatever it may be, with love, career, whatever it may, travel, just go out there and enjoy life. And I don't know, it's a big question, I don't know, but
listen.
Don't let fear stand in the way of things, and be true to yourself, and because it's such a crazy world that she's going to grow up in. It's so different to what we grew up in. Social media and all the like, and everything online, and
very judgmental.
It's crazy, and people always trying to live up to unrealistic expectations, especially but young boys, young girls, what they see online is what they've got to try and learn. It's so incorrect.
Fake
so
ideals.
hard for them to be happy in amongst themselves in their own skin. So they're growing up in a totally different reality to what we grew up. So
no, I completely agree. The importance of self-worth, knowing how valuable you are, and you don't have to change for anybody else for it. And I love that, the ability to take on fear and not be afraid to go for the things you want, pursue them regardless of what anyone else thinks of you. Well,
that's a huge fear. Fear comes in so many different forms, but the fear of acceptance of others, and especially growing up as a young one, and peer pressure and the rest of it, I mean, it's so evident in young people just not going out and trying what they want to do really in life because of fear of not fitting in, because it's different to the crowd or whatever it may be. So definitely hopefully that doesn't affect our girls as much, and we can instill those things we just spoke about, and hopefully we'll
do the best we can. And last question is, if I could be you over the last 5 years, what would be something you'd tell me to watch out for?
House prices. I don't know, mate.
Get in the market earlier.
Sydney's gone crazy, but I don't want to put anything to, not to watch out for anything. Just take each day as it comes, I guess.
Take each day as it comes. Enjoy the moments.
Exactly.
Okay, brother. So if people want to find you, follow you, or buy something off you, what can they go see? Let's direct them.
Well, I've just started a podcast myself. It's called The Vas Files. You can find that on iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you look for podcasts. And the book that we mentioned is called Bra Boy. I put it out a couple of years ago, and that's still floating around. So if you want to hear more about my story, like I said, it took a light-hearted approach at autobiography, and we're on Fox Sports every Thursday night with UFC Fight Week. So talking all UFC news. So.
Follow him on that, and I'll throw all those in the show notes on this podcast and on the page, as well as where you can follow him on Instagram. Well, that'll do it for now. Thank you very much, Richie, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
your time. It was an awesome chat. Thanks,